Hello students, now we are going to look at the first lesson, 10th class biology, that is chapter 1, nutrition. See, first we will define what is nutrition. Nutrition, it is the mode of acquiring food, is called nutrition. Yes, this nutrition is of two types, autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Now we will see what is autotrophic nutrition. See, autotrophic nutrition is a process in which the organisms produce their food from simple inorganic material such as water, carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight. Yes, the organisms which lead autotrophic nutrition are called as autotrophs. For example, like plants. See, plants can synthesize their own food material, hence they are known as autotrophs. So, not only plants, even some chemosynthetic bacteria also perform the photosynthesis process. They utilize the chemical energy to synthesize organic material. So, now we will see the equation of the photosynthesis. See, this is the equation for photosynthesis. 6 CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and 12 molecules of water, this is water H2O, in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll pigment, the plant is going to produce glucose. This is C6H12O6. This is glucose, and it releases 6 molecules of water and 6 molecules of oxygen. Yes, this is the reaction of photosynthesis. Next, we will see the required material for photosynthesis are, these are the raw materials which are required for photosynthesis process: carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll and sunlight. Next, after this process, we are going to get the products. Those are the end products of photosynthesis are glucose, oxygen and water. Next we'll see structure of chloroplast. Yes, this is the structure of the chloroplast. It is a double layer membrane, and inside membrane it is folded into grana. These are the grana and stroma, and these are the lipid globules. This is called granum, and these are the starch grain. Here you can see loop of DNA. These are thylakoids. So this is the TS of chloroplast. Next we'll describe the structure of the chloroplast. See, the chloroplast consists of 3 membranes. Here you can find 2 membranes, and the third membrane forms stacked like structures called granum. It is a site of trapping solar energy. The intermediary fluid filled portion is called stroma. This is the stroma which has been filled inside. And glucose is synthesized in stroma and turned as starch. See, chlorophyll is a pigment that contains 1 atom of magnesium. 2 major kinds of chlorophylls are associated with thylakoid membranes. Those are chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Chlorophyll A is blue-green in color, and chlorophyll B is yellow-green in color. So, there is a difference. Chlorophyll A is blue-green in color and chlorophyll B is yellow-green in color. 250 to 400 pigment molecules are grouped as light harvesting complex or photosynthetic unit in each granum. So, this is the structure of the chloroplast which we have described just now. Next, we will see TS of leaf, transverse section of leaf. First, we'll look at the diagram, children. Yes, here is the cuticle on the outer surface, and you can see upper epidermis, and here is the lower epidermis. On the lower epidermis, you can find the stomata. These are the gourd cells. Yes, Here these are palisade parenchyma, and inside you can find the spongy parenchyma in the center, and inside the spongy parenchyma you can find xylem on the upper side and phloem on the lower side. And here some of the air spaces are also present. So these are the guard cells, and here it is the stomata. The outer layer is the cuticle, and this is the lower epidermis. Now we'll describe it. See the TS of leaf, it has a large number of openings called stomata. Each stomata is surrounded by two guard cells. The tissue present between the two epidermal layers is called mesophyll. So this mesophyll consists of elongated palisade parenchyma cells, and the cells large intercellular spaces called spongy parenchyma. Vascular bundles in the leaf are located in the midrib and the veins. Vascular bundle consists of xylem and phloem cells. Xylem is located towards the upper side and phloem is located towards the lower side of the leaf. So this is the description for TS of leaf. Next, we'll see some of the scientists, they have researched on photosynthesis. We'll explain them now. See, von Helmont proved that the substances needed for the growth of a plant are not only comes from the soil, they also come from water. So von Helmont said this. Next, Joseph Priestley discovered oxygen. He hypothesized that the plants restored to the air whatever breathing animals and burning candles remove. So the reverse of the animals, they take in oxygen and leave out carbon dioxide, but plants, they take carbon dioxide and leave oxygen during the photosynthesis process. We have seen it. Next, Lavoisier named the gas released by the plants, the gas as oxygen. Next, Jan Ingenhousz noticed that plants produce oxygen only in the presence of light. So, he said that light is one of the important factor in the photosynthesis process. Yes, Jan Ingenhousz. Necessity of light he has researched. Next, Engelmann detected that the point of maximum rate of photosynthesis is in red and blue rays of light. We know that light, it is a combination of different rays. So red and blue rays, there is maximum rate of photosynthesis. Next, scientist Pelletier Caventov extracted the green color substance and named it as chlorophyll. Next, Daniel Arnon separated chloroplast from the cell. Next we'll see, these are the research done by the different scientists. Next we'll look at light dependent reaction. It is also called as photochemical phase. So it takes place in grana of chloroplast. When the chlorophyll exposed to light energy, it gets activated and split the water molecule into two ions, H plus ions, that is hydrogen ions, and hydroxyl ions, OH minus ions. So this is called as photolysis of water. Water splitting into hydrogen and hydroxyl ions. This reaction is known as photolysis. This was discovered by Robert Hill. Hence it is also called as Hill reaction. Here OH minus ions through a series of steps produce water and oxygen. Oxygen is released into the atmosphere. At the end of light reaction, oxygen, water, ATP is the adenosine triphosphate, and NADPH, nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphate are produced. So these are the end products of the light or photochemical phase. Next, we'll see light independent reaction. It is also known as biosynthetic phase. This reaction does not require the presence of light. Hence it is also called as dark reaction. But it does not mean that they occur when it is dark, that is at night. It only means that these reactions are not dependent on light. Yes, in the dark phase, the hydrogen of the NADPH is used to combine it with carbon dioxide by utilizing ATP energy to produce glucose. C6H12O6, this is glucose formula. This synthesis occurs in a number of steps using certain special intermediate compounds and enzymes. Here RUBP, ribulose 1,5-bis phosphate, is a compound which accepts carbon dioxide in this process. Finally, the glucose is converted to starch. So this is all about the dark reaction or biosynthetic phase. Next, move on to, this is all about the autotrophic nutrition which we have studied, about the plants producing the carbohydrate. Next, we will move on to heterotrophic nutrition. Here, in heterotrophic nutrition, most of the animals cannot prepare their food by own. Like plants, they depend upon other organisms for their food. This type of nutrition is called heterotrophic nutrition, and the organisms are called heterotrophs. Here the example is animals. Yes. Next, we'll see here there are three different types of nutrition. First one is holozoic nutrition. The organisms take in whole food material and break it down in their bodies by their digestive system. So here this is called as holozoic nutrition. The type of animals comes under this are herbivores. Herbivores are the animals which eat plants and grass, and carnivores which feed on small animals or organisms, flesh eating animals, and omnivores. Omnivores are, they can have both plants and even flesh also they are going to eat. So these are the examples for holozoic nutrition. Next, saprophytic nutrition. Some organisms break down the food materials outside the body and then absorb it. This type of nutrition is called as saprophytic nutrition, and these organisms are called saprophytes. Yes, examples for this are bread molds, that is rhizopus, and yeast, mushrooms, etc. Next comes the parasitic nutrition. Some organisms get nutrients from plants or animals without killing them. This type of nutrition is called parasitic nutrition, and these organisms are called parasites. Examples are cuscuta, leech, tapeworms, etc. Next, we'll see nutrition in amoeba. Yes, it takes in food using pseudopodia. The pseudopodia fuses over the food particle and forms food vacuole. Inside the food vacuole complex, substances are broken down and diffuse into the cytoplasm. The undigested material is moved out of the cell by diffusion. So, by this manner, amoeba is going to take its food. Next, nutrition in paramecium. The food taken in through cytostome by using cilia. So these cilia are present on the entire surface of the cell. So like this, paramecium is going to take the food. Next is nutrition in dodar or cuscuta. Dodar is a leafless twining plant. It has no chlorophyll. But in Cuscuta reflexa, small amount of chlorophyll is present. The dodar have root-like structures called haustoria. These are the special roots. These penetrate into the tissue of a host plant. Water is drawn from the host plant's xylem tissue and nutrients are drawn from phloem tissue through this Hostoria. So these Hostoria are the special roots present in Cuscuta plant. Next one we'll see about how nutrition in human beings is going to take place. See, the alimentary canal is basically a long tube extending from the mouth to the anus. So it starts from the mouth and ends at the anus. The tube has different parts: mouth, buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, duodenum, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. These are the different parts in the digestive system, that is the alimentary canal. The major steps in the nutrition are ingestion, digestion, absorption and defecation. Now we'll see all the steps. We'll explain them. Digestion, the process of converting complex food molecules. Complex food molecules are carbohydrates, proteins, fats into simple molecules like glucose, amino acids and fatty acids is called as digestion. Next, digestion in mouth. It starts at the mouth, that is the buccal cavity. First step, food is cut and crushed by our teeth in the mouth is called as mastication. Saliva is secreted by 3 pairs of salivary glands. Saliva mainly contains an enzyme called amylase. It is also known as ptyalin, which helps in the breakdown of complex carbohydrate to simple ones. The partially digested food is called as bolus. So, the partially digested food is called as bolus. Next step, digestion in esophagus. The soft food mixed with saliva passes through esophagus or food pipe by wave-like movements called as peristaltic movement to the stomach. Digestion do not take place in esophagus. There occurs in esophagus peristaltic movement where the food is moved to the stomach. Now, digestion in stomach. Food gets churned with gastric juice and HCl. The proteins are partially digested with the help of enzyme pepsin. At this stage, the partially digested food is called as chyme. So, in stomach, the partially digested food is called as chyme. And next step, digestion in duodenum. The pyloric sphincter allow the chyme into the duodenum in small quantities at a time. The bile juice secreted by liver and pancreatic juice secreted by pancreas enter into the duodenum. There is no digestive enzymes in the bile juice, but the bile juice helps in emulsification of fats. So what is emulsification? Conversion of fats into small globules is called as emulsification. In pancreatic juice, there are 3 enzymes. 3 enzymes are amylase, trypsin and lipase. Firstly, the amylase converts the carbohydrates into maltose. And next one is the trypsin converts the proteins into peptones. And next enzyme, lipase converts the fat globules into fatty acids and glycerols. Yes, the 3 enzymes do this activity. Next, digestion in small intestine. The small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal. The walls of the small intestine secrete intestinal juice. The enzymes peptidase, lactase, sucrase and others are present in intestinal juice. The enzyme peptidase converts the peptones into amino acids, and sucrase converts sucrose, that is cane sugar, into glucose, and lactase converts lactose is the milk sugar, into glucose. Next step is the absorption. In absorption, transport of the digested food from the intestine into blood through the wall of intestine is called absorption. The intestinal wall has a number of finger-like projections called villi. The villi increase the surface area for absorption. Blood vessels and lymph vessels are present in the form of a network in the villi. Next step, last step is the defecation. The passage of undigested material from the body through anus is called as defecation. The last part of the large intestine is called as rectum. Yes, these are the different steps in the digestion, absorption and defecation of the food which we have taken. Next are some of the terms we will define them. See, vomiting. What is vomiting? Vomiting is the body's method of getting rid of unwanted or harmful substances from the stomach. Due to the reverse peristaltic movements of the stomach and esophagus, the food is expelled out of the body. So this is vomiting. Next, indigestion. The difficulty in digestion of food is called as indigestion. We can avoid indigestion by having simple, well-balanced meals, thoroughly masticating the food, drinking plenty of water, and having fiber-rich food. So, by this way, we can avoid indigestion of food. Next are ulcers. What are ulcers? See, ulcers occur more often in busy people who get into the habit of hurrying over meals. That is, they will not eat meals on time. So, that people are going to have likely ulcers formation and rushing from one activity to another without sufficient rest. Yes. Next, roughages. What are roughages? Roughages clean up the alimentary canal and keep it healthy and send all the residues remain in the colon out. Constipation can be avoided by having plenty of roughages in the diet. So roughages, they are also called as dietary fibers. So by eating roughages or dietary fibers, we can prevent constipation problem. And next, we'll define balanced diet. What is balanced diet? The food that contains proper proportion of carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, salts and fats is called as balanced diet. Next, malnutrition. What is malnutrition? Eating of food that does not have one or more than one nutrients in required amount is known as malnutrition. So, reasons for malnutrition are poor health, willful starvation, that is willingly we will not eat food. So, willful starvation and lack awareness on nutritional habits. Socio-economic factors are the reasons for malnutrition. So, this malnutrition, due to this malnutrition, we are going to have attack of the diseases. So, malnutritions are of three types. They are calorie malnutrition, protein malnutrition, protein calorie malnutrition. Now, we'll explain the diseases caused due to this malnutrition. First one is the kwashiorkor disease. This is due to protein deficiency in diet. Body parts become swollen due to accumulation of water in the intercellular spaces. Yes, this is the reason why kwashiorkor disease has occurred. And we'll see the symptoms now of kwashiorkor disease. Very poor muscle development, swollen legs, fluffy face, difficult to eat, diarrhea, dry skin are the symptoms of the kwashiorkor disease. Next one, obesity disease. This is due to overeating and excess of energy intake. Obese children, when grow, they will be target of many diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular and renal, gallbladder problems. So these are been attacked to these persons, obese people. Next, last topic is vitamins. See, vitamins are micronutrients. They are very small quantity of them are required by the body. So the source of vitamins is through two ways. One is through the diet what we are eating, and other is bacteria which are present in the intestine that synthesize and supply to the body. So by two ways we can get these vitamins. So these vitamins, there are two types. One is water soluble vitamins, B complex, and C vitamins. These are the water soluble vitamins, and fat soluble vitamins are vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. A, D, E, K are the fat soluble vitamins, and B and C are the water soluble vitamins. Okay children?